Okay, we'll check back in. But guys, we get to catch up with Colby Hébert, the Cajun hatter for Louisiana Legends, and we're really excited about this one today.
Yeah, so am I. Thanks so much for having me as always. And today I brought my Our Lady of the Assumption, which is basically Our Lady of the Acadians. This particular image, as well as the shirt that I'm wearing, was done by Amy Stout, so thanks Amy for that. But basically, today is referred to as Le Fête National des Acadiens, so it's the National Acadian Day, but it's also the Feast of the Assumption, which is, not a coincidence. And so basically kind of getting into the history of that, August 15th is the date that was, among others considered originally in Canada, as far as, what would be an appropriate time for us to acknowledge the Acadians. And this was as far back as the 1800s when they realized they needed to do this and recognize the Acadian culture within Canada. So in 1881, there was a date proposed by Father Marcel Francois Richard. And he essentially was referring to the Acadians being able to hold on to their religion and their, the language and other aspects of their culture. And suggested August 15th because of the Blessed Virgin Mary being the patroness of the Acadians.
Okay.
So as a matter of fact, of course, the star, which we've mentioned before, on the Acadian flag represents the Blessed Virgin Mary, their patroness. And that also translates down to the Cajun flag that we've created here in Acadiana as well.
Yeah.
So interesting things, again, historically about this date. In 1938, the Fête Nationale was actually recognized and ratified by the Vatican. So it's something that's interesting to say that the head of the church, the Catholic Church, actually acknowledged in a very real and official way our culture. It's really cool. Yeah. Not every culture gets that, even whether they're very Catholic or not. And so later on, Saint Pope John Paul II also proclaimed Our Lady of the Assumption as the patroness of Acadians everywhere, wherever they may be in the world. Interesting point, when we're driving around Acadiana and you're looking at houses, you're seeing these grottos, these statues of Mary. So it's really evident and clear the devotion that the Cajun people, the Acadian people have as far back as that. But so celebrations today and all week have been being held in all throughout Canada, in Nova Scotia, of course, and here in Louisiana. Of course, earlier this week we started off with the Acadian Culture Day, which I took a part in at Vermilionville, and then here over in St. Martinville today, there's things going on at the Acadian Memorial Museum. Some of our Cajun friends here are actually over in Nova Scotia right now celebrating. So it's really cool. And then one of the last things that's important and interesting that's been celebrated for the last 10 years here is the Fête du Détèche, so going through reenacting almost the original journey of the Acadians.
Yeah, and there was one this week too.
Right, the Fête du Mississippi.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Exactly, yeah. So that's what I would like to get into on the next half.
We're teasing you because that's going to be coming up after this commercial break. We're still going to be hanging out with Colby, but you have a look at the forecast.
A very hot one indeed out there. Those temperatures already in the mid-90s in many spots. We'll find out how.
All right, guys. Louisiana Legends Part 2. Colby is here, and we left off on the Fête du Mississippi.
Right, Fête du Mississippi. So it's the festival of the god of Mississippi, basically. And what's really interesting, so of course, again, just to recap, back in the last 10 years, they've been doing this festival through Acadiana, Bayou Teche, the Vermilion, and just, parading through with the Eucharist. But this year, there's so much going on that makes this monumental, honestly.
Yeah.
On one hand, it's the 10th anniversary, like I said, and so I got to give credit to Father Michael Champagne. He's just the mastermind behind all of this. It's amazing. So he is. They've moved it over to the Mississippi River. This massive undertaking, like barges, But so what's cool is that it's not just their 10th anniversary and they're parading through with the Eucharist, but It is a Eucharistic revival going on throughout the entire church, the entire Catholic world right now, and it's actually a National Eucharistic Congress taking place here in America right now, and so they're parading through with the Eucharist, the Mississippi River. It's a statewide event because they're going from Baton Rouge all the way to New Orleans. They started yesterday morning. They're going to be ending in New Orleans this evening. And it's actually the largest monstrance at 14 feet tall that has ever been constructed in the history of the world. And as well as the host. The host is approximately about like 14 inches in size.
Wow.
And so this is this statewide event during the time that it's occurring, breaking world records like within the Catholic culture. So it's truly an historic, monumental event that this is taking place. And, this is just our Cajun brothers and sisters out there just on barges in the Mississippi. It's really remarkable, and it makes me very proud. But the preservation of the Cajun culture, we look at things like the food, the music, of course.
Can't forget about that.
The language. And these are so important to who we are as a people. But I, as a traiteur, which is essentially, in a sense, a custodian of the spiritual heritage of our culture, I'd be remiss to not mention that it was the faith of the Acadians. It was their faith that contributed to the perseverance that through which they endured and came, here and other places and rebuilt their lives. And so, as important as those other aspects of culture are, for someone who it is important to them in this culture as a Cajun to preserve this culture. May I say, perhaps, that the most significant thing that one could possibly do is to actually embrace their Catholic faith. So in order to preserve the spiritual side of our culture, embrace your Catholic faith, to be Cajun is to be Catholic. And so with that being said, Our Lady of the Assumption today, Our Lady of the Assumption, as we would say, priez pour nous, pray for us. So
I love that we tackled this today. We always learn so much whenever you come on the show. So
thank you,
Colby. Thank you so much
for having me,
for educating us. And you have to educate us on the forecast coming up.
Yeah, something like that, because it's hot.